Hello and welcome. You're watching Today in Parliament with me, Aishwarya, and these are the Parliament headlines. Rajya Sabha to continue discussion on Central Sanskrit Universities Bill already passed by Lok Sabha. Bill seeks to convert 3 deemed to be Sanskrit universities into Central Sanskrit Universities. Discussion on working of 4 key ministries, including railways, listed in Rajya Sabha's agenda. Upper House to also take up National Commission for Indian System of Medicine Bill and National Commission for Homeopathy Bill. In Lok Sabha, discussion and voting on demands for grants of 5 ministries for 2020-2021, also listed in today's business. Appropriation bills listed for introduction, consideration and passing. A look at the legislative business in the upper house first. The House will take up the National Commission for Indian System of Medicine Bill 2019 listed for consideration and passing. This bill aims to provide for a medical education system that improves access to quality, affordable medical education and promotes equitable and universal health care that makes medical services accessible to all citizens. Union Minister Shripad Yesso Naik will move the National Commission for Homeopathy Bill 2019, aimed to ensure the availability of adequate and high-quality homeopathy medical professionals for consideration and passing. The Upper House will also take up the Central Sanskrit Universities Bill 2019 for consideration and passing. The bill is intended to convert 3 deemed to be Sanskrit universities into Central Sanskrit universities. And the House is also slated to take up discussion on the working of the Ministry of Railways to be raised by TMC MP Derek O'Brien. Discussion on the working of the Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises to be moved by DMK MP Tiruchi Siva. Discussion on the working of the Ministry of Law and Justice to be raised by BJP MP Bhupendra Yadav. And discussion on the working of the Ministries of Rural Development and Agriculture and Farmers' Welfare to be moved by Congress MP Pratap Singh Bajwa. And in the Lok Sabha today, discussion and voting on demands for grants of 5 ministries for 2020-2021 is listed in today's business. These include the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, Ministry of Tourism, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Ministry of External Affairs and the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. Also discussion and voting on the supplementary demands for grants, second batch for 2019-2020 is also listed in today's agenda. Submission to the vote of the House of the outstanding demands for grants in respect of the Union Budget for 2020-2021 is also listed in today's agenda. And in some legislative business in the Lok Sabha, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will move Appropriation Bill 2020 and Appropriation Number 2 Bill 2020 for introduction, consideration and passing. Kriti Mishra is now joining us live from Parliament for more updates. Kriti, it is the start of this new week and we have seen that there were disruptions in the last week over several issues. But there is heavy legislative agenda that we can see in both houses. Talking first about Rajya Sabha, we can see that there is this Central Sanskrit Universities Bill. The discussion on this particular bill is going to continue, and also there is working of 4 key ministries also listed. How do you look at the day really panning out in the Upper House today?
Well, Aishwarya, talking about the second half of the budget session of Parliament, remember in the first week we saw productivity of a mere 9%, but in the second week that spiked to more than 82%. Several important bills were passed by the Rajya Sabha, including the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code Bill and also the Mineral Laws Amendment Bill and also Direct Tax Vivad Se Vishwas Bill. Now, talking about day's agenda, of course, you've mentioned that important bills are listed to be taken up, including the Central Sanskrit Universities Bill to upgrade 3 deemed universities into Central Sanskrit Universities. Also, 2 important bills would be discussed together. That is the National Commission for Indian System of Medicine and the National Commission for Homeopathy Bill 2019 to improve the situation of health and also to provide universal health coverage, and also importantly discussion on various ministries including the ministries of railways, MSME, law and justice, rural development and agriculture. That is also listed to be taken up in the upper house. So heavy legislative agenda in the Rajya Sabha today. Aishwarya?
And Kriti, talking about Lok Sabha, we are seeing that as far as the House's agenda is concerned, there's a discussion and voting on demands for grants for 5 ministries. There is also appropriation bills, Appropriation Bill 2020 and also Appropriation number 2 bills that are listed for introduction, consideration and passing. What is likely to happen in the Lok Sabha today?
Well, these are the key items in Lok Sabha's agenda today. And remember, the BJP has also issued whip to its MPs to be present in the House to support government's agenda. So there would be demands for grants and voting and discussion on various ministries, including the Social Justice and Empowerment Ministry, the Ministry of Tourism, the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, and also Ministry of External Affairs. And as you've mentioned, appropriation bills would be taken up to actually authorize payment or appropriation of certain sums of money from Consolidated Fund of India. So that is a very important item that would be taken up in the Lok Sabha today. Aishwarya?
All right, Kriti, thank you so much for all those updates there. And in some other legislative business, following ministers will lay papers on the table pertaining to their ministries in the Rajya Sabha today. Prakash Javadekar for the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. Prahlad Joshi for the Ministry of Coal. Kiran Rijiju for the Ministry of Minority Affairs. Arjun Ram Meghwal for the Ministry of Heavy Industries and Public Enterprises. V.K. Singh for the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways. Babul Supriyo for the Ministry of Environment, Forests and Climate Change. Ratanlal Kataria for the Ministry of Jal Shakti. And Pratap Chandra Sarangi for the Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises. Also, department-related parliamentary standing committee reports for the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, Ministry of Information Technology will be tabled in the upper house today. Report of the Committee on Empowerment of Women on action taken on yoga and sports facilities for women will also be presented. And another report on the Committee on Public Accounts will be presented in the upper house today. And following ministers will lay papers in the Lok Sabha. Santosh Kumar Gangwar for the Ministry of Labour and Employment. Prahlad Singh Patel for the Ministry of Culture. Dhotri Sanjay Shamrao for the Ministry of Human Resource Development. And Anurag Singh Thakur for the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Also, reports of Public Accounts Committee, report of Committee on Subordinate Legislation and report of Committee on Empowerment of Women will be presented in the lower house. The Standing Committee reports on the Ministry of Information Technology, Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment will also be tabled in the House today. Also, motion for election to the Council of Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore will be moved by Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank. Nishank will also move the motion for the election of member to the court of Aligarh Muslim University. And with that, we wrap up this edition of Today in Parliament. Do stay tuned. The proceedings of the Upper House are going to commence at 11 a.m. Thanks so much for your time.